Sorry, I had to do a little bit of Stone Cold there for a minute just had to get it out. Actually, no, it's the first video of 2023 from Big Kev's World. I am Big Kev here, ladies and gentlemen, and we got some cool, exciting things coming up. Some of you who like the nerds talk, we're going to be discussing here very soon about the new moves that are going on in DC. We're going to be possibly bringing in some stuff about some of you hair metal fanatics out there. We're talking about some 80s hair metal. We're going to talk about some horror movies coming out this year. I also have an interview scheduled in the coming weeks with two people that, one person we know very well, but me and Mel were on Bridget's horror podcast here a while back, and we will be doing an interview with her and Tracy West, discussing their little horror film that they did, and talking about their love of haunted, haunted attractions, haunted houses, and we're gonna have a good time. But today, I credited my wife on this one because she was like, you never done you never done your top 20 bands or singers of all time, and it you know the thoughts never crossed my mind. But now that we're here and it is, um, I'm not going to put a number. I'm going to see some people do like a top 10 and they put a number on it. I'm not going to put a number on it. Um, I'm not going to sit there and say what my favorite artist is of all time. Well, actually, yeah, I will say um, I am a huge, I'm a big fan of Elvis Presley. And I grew up um, listening to Elvis Presley from my parents. And I've always had that. I love the Elvis movie that came out last year. And it's, him being the king of rock and roll and just the way, because I am a big closet blues fan. I love blues music. Um, little blues and rock together. I love that. And, people like BB King, who's another person I'll get to in a little bit. But Elvis Presley was the guy that I felt like kicked the rock music, and it he kind of started the trend with the rock music, but I felt like the Beatles took it and made it into this global phenomenon that we have now with bands and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, Elvis Presley was a guy who you know took gospel. He took gospel, country, blues, and he was out there on a. Any of y'all ever been to Memphis, Tennessee? There's Bourbon Street. Um, lot of great artists, a lot of great musicians have come through that area. And Beale Street, sorry. No, Beale Street. Beale Street. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I got that one wrong. Uh, but yeah, it's a really great area to listen to music, and I don't know how it is now because I haven't been to Memphis since '96. Yeah, since 1996, which is a horrible thing because Memphis is in Tennessee. You have Knoxville, you have Nashville, you have Memphis. Memphis is like its own area code. It's like its own identity. But I felt like Elvis was a guy who was too generous to a fault. And maybe I understand that because I used to be too generous to a fault. And, you know, he would help a lot of people. He would, The man almost went bankrupt because he was giving gifts out to his Memphis Mafia and everything. And to me, he will go down as one of the greatest artists of our time, even before our time. And that's the thing too. I love music that's before our time. Like when I listen to music now, it's like, what kind of crap is this shit? I mean, that's just now. Hey, if any of you do listen to the kind of music out there now, hey, more power to you. But I don't like that kind of music, and it's there's no soul in in the music industry anymore. There's no heart. There's no desire to make any great music anymore. It's just all, let me just synchronize you, and um, let's just put you on here and make you a star. And that's just not, to me, what the music business is all about. And Elvis Presley was a guy who, you know, he wanted to get his parents out of poverty. He had a really great relationship with his mother. His dad got in trouble a few times with the law, and he was determined to get them out of poverty and get them into Graceland, and he did that. And to me, that just shows you the kind of hard work and dedication it is to make yourself one of the best. And I've always admired his work ethic with it. And yeah, he was managed by a really crooked guy in Colonel Parker. If you haven't seen the Elvis biography, I would suggest you see it, because you kind of get a chance to see, I guess, in some ways, Colonel Parker's view of things. But he was not a nice dude at all. He's not a nice guy at all, and he was not a very good person. But now we're going on to it. What would be my favorite band of all time? My favorite band of all time, if any of y'all have known me very well, know that I love ACDC. Um, I just love the guitar riffs with Angus Young, the way he plays the guitar. Brian Johnson, how he put your left foot in, ooh. Just that kind of vibe, and the fact that they're all short guys, they kind of remind me, hey, they were the hobbits before Lord of the Rings came around. All right, that's how I look at it. But ACDC, man, anytime I hear it, I get pumped up. I don't even care what kind of mood I am. If I just hear a song from ACDC, I'm already back into a. My biggest regret is I have never seen ACDC. They came to Nashville in 2008, but the concert tickets for that were very pricey and very expensive. But I know a lot of people, when they talk about, they do this thing here with the rock station here called the Buzz. They do this thing called bracket brawl whenever college basketball does their March Madness, and it always pisses me off because they always give it to either Alice in Chains, Metallica, or Nirvana. Which, don't get me wrong, I like Metallica and I like Nirvana, but they never give ACDC any love. And the way their music is, the way their it could be the same fucking song, same kind of beat, but it rocks. It's pretty much what was that comedian that said that? Oh, Jim Brewer. It's like what Jim Brewer said. They could tear it up. It doesn't even matter what kind of song ACDC's doing. When you hear it, you're just like, it is just, and I'm telling you, ACDC will always have a special place in my heart. And it was music that I lived. Actually, ACDC was one of the first one of the first bands that I listened to when I was on the football field practicing. After practice, I would listen to AC/DC, and I would get myself pumped with that. I didn't even really put in a lot of hard rock music at that point. It was just, man, AC/DC, here we go. Let's do this. Um, Another band that I grew up with, and if you live in the South, you know who you know who this band is. I did grow up with Skinner, Leonard Skinner, and you know they, I know some of their songs are long, and if you are a musician, like I used to play guitar, um, you know how long their songs could be, and it's very, it's not very fun to play Leonard Skinner, but I uh, I love Leonard Skinner. I would have to put ZZ Top up there with them. I love ZZ Top, and it's just the because the Southern rock to me is like that music. Like, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna whoop your ass. I'm gonna put my foot in your ass, and we're gonna go. Or we're just going to cruise and we're chilling. Let's just listen to some music. That's how it feels to me. Skinner though had that tragedy where the entire band almost, except for maybe two members, I believe, were in a terrible plane accident. The original brother who was playing with them died in there, and then his brother took over. And his brother's cool. Don't get me wrong, but his brother was never. It would never sound like the original Leonard Skinner lead singer. And ZZ Top, man, it's just how could you not go wrong with you know Garage and Sharp Dressed Man and Give Me All Your Lovin', and it's just that kind of music right there is just kind of, I'm old school, and that's just how I like my bands to be, is more old school like. Now, if we're talking about another one of my favorite rock, and this is actually a more of a rock metal artist here. I love Rod Zombie, and Rod Zombie I have seen a few times in concert. Never puts on a bad show, and I liked him during the time when they had White Zombie, when More Human and Human came out, and Rod Zombie has always been that guy for me. I know some people like Alice Cooper, some people like Marilyn Manson, and I do like Manson and I do like Cooper, but Rod Zombie's always been my guy. And some of the songs he comes up with is fucking hilarious. Like, like where everybody's fucking into UFO. And just things like that to me is just like he has a song called Pussy Liquor. I mean, I if you, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, wow, okay, it, he's kind of, but now when you see Rod Zombie's films, like the movies that he's done, he's kind of got that old school '70s vibe to his movies, like especially with House of Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. So and his Halloween remake that he did in 2007. Um, I love Zombie's creativity. His showmanship, him willing to put on a show for everybody, and I just think and plus Ozzy's the same way. I've seen Ozzy a few times. I've seen Ozzy's ass, and not only have you seen his ass, you've seen his butt cheeks and his asshole. Like, you ever been to Ozfest, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Also, growing up, I grew up with country music. My dad was a hardcore old school country guy, Waylon Jennings and Merle Haggard. I grew up listening to George Jones, No Show George. But one of my old school favorites, still to this very day, is Johnny Cash. I love the Man in Black, all because I do like wearing black myself. Um, Something about Johnny Cash's voice and just his music, it really gets to your soul, especially especially Hurt, which I know was a Nine Inch Nails song first, but the way Johnny Cash did it right before he passed away was just amazing. And it's in one of my favorite movies of all time, in Logan. So everybody knows that I'm a Wolverine fan. So that kind of also was a very good part with it. But I did like Hank Williams Sr. I did listen to a lot of his with my dad growing up. Um, you know, if you're talking about more modernized country stars, like in the '90s, I listened to George Strait. I was listening to Alan Jackson. Those are two of my dad's favorites, and I got a chance to listen to them. I mean, I listened to Toby Keith myself because he did a lot of songs for the military, and I have a very strong love for the military. And so for me, that's another thing that I actually liked. So I know I'm doing this. Usually, when someone does a all time, you have to kind of go do this. I'm doing it a little differently. So, whew, this one's going to be a little controversial, but I do not care. I liked Michael Jackson. I grew up with him in the '80s. Me and my brother both had two Beat It jackets, a red one and a black one. Um, I used to dance back then, and most of my dance moves came from Michael. Michael was my dance inspiration back then. A lot of people don't never knew that. Now, Michael, despite how he was personally, and despite some of the stuff that he did, like whether it was true or not, it's a mute point at this point. But with Michael, he just had really great showmanship. He knew how to put on a show with his body language. He's been holding that microphone since he was 4 or 5 years old with the Jackson Five. Um, the moonwalk was something that I took. It took me years to figure out how to do the moonwalk. Like that was one of my goals, and I finally nailed it at one of my cousin's weddings when I was a kid. And I finally nailed it, and I was excited about it. Can't do it now, obviously, but maybe I can. I don't know. I probably could. But my favorite Michael Jackson album, and a lot of people are going to think it's Thriller. I like the Bad album. I really did. Like I thought it had more singles, um, and more of the pop rock aspect to it. I kind of like that actually. Um, I know that Mel's like and some people don't like Michael because he does the whole Shimon, and all that other stuff, but he had his own identity, which you have to kind of respect. And I like Prince, but I don't like Prince as much as I did Mike. Um, like I said, this might be a controversial thing, but Michael Jackson to me is one of the greatest entertainers of all time. James Brown is up there too. I love James Brown as well. The Godfather of Soul. I love I love me some James Brown. I loved his song in Rocky Four. Living in America. I like playing that during Fourth of July. Um, I like his "Oh Get Up Off That Thing," and it's just actually James Brown does have a Christmas album, and that Christmas album is pretty damn good. Actually, um, these are guys that, you know, the entertaining, the showmanship is something that I attach myself to with that. And blues, love BB King. Seen him play once, and there is nothing like BB King playing his guitar Lucille. It is one of the coolest things that you can see in blues music. It hits you to your core, but it's sexy. It's got that. You never hear a guy say that, but it's got that it's got that hey thing, man. If you want to go in there and do it with your lady, some blues, man. I'm telling you. I mean, you put on some of that blues and it's like, it'll get you there. Now, we're going into this other topic here called new metal. New metal was stuff like Corn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, um, System Up and Down, and I do believe there's another one I'm forgetting, but I did like Limp Bizkit back in the day. Not really a big fan of Fred Durst. After watching that Netflix documentary on Woodstock '99, it kind of paints a new picture of Limp Bizkit in my eyes. But you know, I like Corn, but I gotta say, Linkin Park was my favorite new metal band, and Linkin Park was one of those bands that it's just you know they're not together right now because of the tragic death of Chester Bennington. But the one thing I always admired about Linkin Park was that they actually, the first two albums, everybody was like, "Oh man, I love Hyperfury, I love Meteor," and don't get me wrong, love those two. But I like the fact that they branched out and they tried something different each time. One of my favorite albums of there is actually A Thousand Suns. I actually like more music on that one than I do the other two. That's just my preference. But you'll never find another dude that sounds like Chester Bennington. It's not going to happen. And he was one of my Lincoln Park's one of those favorites, and Lincoln Park got me through some stuff, and you have to kind of get in perspective with some of these bands because music does a lot for me. Some of y'all know that I go through mental health issues, so it's music helps that, and I did grow up liking Nirvana. Wasn't really a Kurt Cobain fan. I thought sometimes when he come on, I thought some of his interviews, I thought he'd come off like an asshole at times. Um, it's but I did like Nirvana's music. I did like Nine Inch Nails. I have never got a chance to see Nine Inch Nails. Had an opportunity back in the day, and I just didn't do it. But I do like Nine Inch Nails. Now we're talking about one of the. You want to talk about showmanship. You want to talk about a band that could put on a show, and they did it back in the '80s in England in front of the world, and that's Queen. Freddie Mercury. You'll never hear anyone sound like Freddie Mercury. You'll never see anyone put on a performance that Freddie Mercury did with Queen. And I actually like Queen. Queen's one of my favorites. Um, but I do like the Beatles. The Beatles are Some people like to consider them the godfather of rock bands. I mean, you could say the Rolling Stones maybe, but the Beatles for me was they're the godfathers of rock bands. You know, back then Paul McCartney was one of the very first people screaming on the mic doing the rock songs, and now you got like metal bands and rock bands that are screaming on the mic. You know, and I think some of these bands have even come out and admitted that the Beatles were inspirations to them. And you know, I honestly think that they took that title of King of Rock and Roll from Elvis. As much as I love Elvis, don't get me wrong, but I like to have been a fly on the wall when they met each other back in 1965. I mean, they were jamming and everything. I wish that someone would have recorded something on that one because I would have loved to see that or hear that actually. But like all great things must come to an end. You know, the Beatles. You know, Mel's stepfather is probably one of the most Beatle fanatics out there, and if I ever have a question about the Beatles, that's who I go to because I know he's gonna know the right answer to it. And now I can't not do this video and not talk about hip hop and rap music. So the story behind this goes: we were living in West Nashville, and our road, the street that we lived on, there were projects, and most of our friends were black. Me and my brother's friends were black. You know, that's who we hung out with. That's who we. Um, I got introduced to LL Cool J. Now I know Mel likes to laugh at me on that, but LL Cool J is one of my favorite rappers. Um, you know, I don't know. I just love LL style. You know, the whole Kango hat and the big chain and everything like that. I like the old LL better than I do the new one. The LL we see now. One of the reasons I think that kind of got me attached to bands like Rage Against the Machine and Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park was listening to the Beastie Boys. Beastie Boys will be forever in my heart. I love some Beastie Boys. Again, like I told you, I'm going old school with these things, and I do not care. I'm about to be 41, so I have no shame whatsoever. But I love the Beastie Boys. Love M, run M, run DMC. Good tongue tied there, but I can't remiss when I say my favorite rap group of all time is NWA. If you have not seen that movie Straight Outta Compton, you understand why that band right there. And Ice Cube's one of my favorite rappers. Dre is one of my favorite rappers as well, and so is Mr. Tupac Shakur. And rap music's not like how it used to be. That's for damn sure. But I grew up more on rap music than I did with anything myself. You know, and raps helped me out quite a bit. When I played football, I was one of the very only white guys on the team, so I had to listen to it a lot. Um, it's also on my playlist when I go to the gym. Uh, it's I'm sorry, when I'm bench pressing, some people like to listen to metal. I love listening to like Tupac's Ambitious as a Rider. You know, that's just to me, I like beats. I love cool beats, and that's what's something about rap. Rap is poetry to me, but it was also the beats. Eminem's one of my favorites. I mean, you when Eminem first came out, he had the whole going after the boy bands like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and just going after Christina and Britney, and he was the he was the epitome of something different, and I think that that's something that we yearn for. And I think a lot of people yearn for that. They always want something different, and I feel like that's what Eminem did. I do like Biggie Smalls. I do like Notorious B.I.G. as well. Um, I was more of a Tupac fan than I was a Biggie fan, but I do like Biggie. It's just rap music has lost its luster. You know, when you would hear Snoop and Dre together and they talk about reach back and slap a hoe, it would, you kind of lived it. You're like, wow, damn, he reached back and slapped that hoe. But now it's just you hear the rap music now, and you're just like, are we serious? And he's like, and the rap artists they got now, like Machine Gun Kelly, who's a piece of shit, and you have like little punks who are sitting there with their faces all tattooed and like they got little grills in their mouth, and I'm just like, you know what? You guys aren't rap. You guys are, there's nothing scary. There's nothing intimidating about you. It's like what Ice Cube said. They were just rappers who were reporting. They were reporters who were reporting about what was going on in the hood, what was going on for their time. And one thing about NWA that I love about them is that they did go through police brutality. They went through police looking at them and going after them because of what their skin color was. And they had something to complain about to me, honestly. They had something to complain about. And I know some of these people are not going to like this, but you ain't got nothing to complain about anymore. You don't. And you can go ahead and be like, that's not true, Kevin. But yeah, I mean, the NWA, it's just Dre. I love anything that Dre does for anybody. It could be a Gwen Stefani song. It could be a Mary J. Blige. It could be an Ice Cube song. It could be anything. Just when you hear Dre's beat and what Dre had a vision. He was working at that. He was working for this one guy called Alonzo, and doing DJing for him. But he had a vision to get himself become probably one of. Actually, I do believe that Dre is one of the richest rappers of all time. Like he's a billionaire, and all of that's from hard work and determination. So you see a key theme with me with some of these people. It's all about hard work and determination. It's all about you want something, you grab it. You want something, you go for it, and that's something that I that's something that I said to myself. You know what? I'm gonna do that. You want something, you grab it, you get it, and you work hard to get it. I mean, things are not going to be handed to you on the silver platter. And I do also like, what's another music that I said I would talk about? Oh, yeah. As far as hard rock goes, I do like Five Finger Death Punch. And the reason why I like them is that some of their songs have hit home to me. Um, some of their songs have talked about pretty much how my life's been on almost 41 years on this earth. So that's what I look for. I look for something that not only that has determination and good beats and good sounding with instruments, but I also look for something that hits home. Something that that you can relate to. And I think that that's one of my favorite things about Five Finger Death Punch is I can relate to them. I relate to the whole. I had a drinking issue way back in the day. I know that Ivan Moody has had some problems with that. I relate. I do love some of Disturbed's music and beats as well. But it's just something about the Five Finger Death Punch. It's like or as one guy called them, Five Finger Fruit. Was it five flavored fruit punch? Um, what a Hawaiian punch, sure. But no, it's one of those things where music is always going to be there. When it comes to the holidays, like we just got past Christmas, right? I like old school Christmas music. I like Bing Crosby and Nat King Cole and Frank Sinatra. I love Frank Sinatra. Mel can attest to this. I love the I loved how they dressed back then, like with the pinstripe suit and the fedora hat, and I won't dance. Don't ask me. I won't dance. Maybe with you. I just love stuff like that. It's. I feel like I was born in the wrong era. I can just tell you that much. A lot of things that I like is a lot of old school. A lot of. I like George Thorogood. Bad to the Bone was my theme as a kid, and it's still my theme, still my life theme to this day. Um, it's just now, as far as female artists, I don't really talk about that very much, but I don't really have one, to be honest with you. I really don't have a favorite female artist. Um, I can just name off some that I like. I mean, I like Reba because I got to know Reba a little more. Reba McIntyre from Melissa. I also got to I do like Shania Twain. Um, I did like old Mariah Carey, not this newer Mariah Carey that just she looked like she's got the Bobby Brown jaw and looks like a broke hoe. I mean, that's something I. But the old Mariah Carey, the one that did like fantasy and all that, I'm like, wow, that Mariah was cool. But also, if you ever seen the movie La Bamba, I love Richie Valens. I love something. I thought if he didn't die in that plane crash at 17 years old, he might have given people like Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis Presley a run for his money. Um, me and Mel both had the fortune. We both fortunately, I got to work. We both got to work security for a Jerry Lee Lewis concert, and yeah, I was fortunate enough. We were fortunate enough to do that, and it was pretty cool. Though he's got some little history behind him. Marrying his cousin when she was like 13 or 14. But then again, Elvis also was in love with Priscilla when you know if you kind of think about it, there's some fucked up situations there, but I don't look at it that way. I look at what they've done as an artist. I don't look at their personality or what they do outside of the thing. I'm not that kind of person to do that because I'm like, why in the world would I want to? Why do I care what they do behind the scenes? Because what they do behind the scenes has no reflection toward for me or you or as us fans. We pay for the damn concert tickets. We pay for the CDs. Well, no, we don't do CDs and tapes anymore. We just go to Spotify and listen to their albums that way. Um, but I've always been that kind of person. I don't look at controversial stuff to hell. I'll even tell you this: there's some R. Kelly music that I like. All right. I mean, if you don't like a little bit of bump and grind, something's fucking wrong with you. I mean, that's just how that's how I look at it. I see nothing wrong. A little bit of bump and grind. I mean, I also do like R&B. I did like some Keith Sweat. I do like Tyrese. I did like Usher, Joe. Back in the day, if y'all remember Joe, I like some R&B. kind of music. But if you put some southern rock, add in a little bit of blues with it, I'm in heaven. I'm fine. I'm happy. It's just, but that's just who I've been. That's how I've always been. I have some people have asked me, "Hey man, what's your favorite metal band?" I was like, I do like metal. Do not get me wrong. I think even though Mel likes to call it the long drawn out belches, um, one band now that I really dig the most is I like Slaughter to Prevail. They're a Russian metal band, but I love them. I think that I think they're fucking kick ass, and the beat to their music is just insane. And yes, they're on my playlist in the gym. But um, I also like certain soundtracks too. Like I still feel like to this very day, Forrest Gump had one of the best soundtracks out there. So did Dazed and Confused, but I think the Guardians had a pretty good one because I also did grow up listening to '70s music too. Um, my uncle, who passed away years ago, was a big. I didn't realize this until we went to his funeral, but he was a big Bee Gees fan. Staying alive and all that. I love Aerosmith. I've seen Aerosmith once with Kiss. Aerosmith is, I do like them. I don't particularly have, like I said, I can't put everybody on like in a number. I can't do a number with them because there's different genres of music. So I can't just sit there and be like, hey, I like this guy. This guy was the best ever. I'm like, well, what genre are we talking about? You know? And I've had as far as country goes, I've had the fortunate time, we got to meet Alan Jackson once at a Cracker Barrel. I thought that was really cool. Um, Before he had his stroke, we got to meet Randy Travis. There's just some real good, feel good music out there. And I feel like country music's lost its luster with that as well. I do love Chris Stapleton. If you guys listen to Chris Stapleton now, I love Chris Stapleton. I love like this one band that Mel and her dad introduced me to. They they had like a southern rock blues to them, and I think it was Record Company. Um, we were listening to this band called Colars. They're not together no more, but it was a man and a wife. She was tap dancing on drums while playing the drums, and he had that whole 50s 60s rock style that I liked. I love some Chuck Berry. Grew up on Chuck Berry. Um, if you ask me like who a band is now, unless I know them now like beforehand, I probably won't be able to tell you who it is. And so yeah, it's kind of and when it comes to Metallica, there are certain songs of Metallica that I love, and there are certain songs of Metallica I don't like. But I can honestly tell you there is not a song of ACDC's that I can tell you that I don't like. You know, there's maybe one or two songs of Leonard Skinner that I don't like. There's maybe like one or two songs of ZZ Top that I don't like. I like a lot of Elvis's songs, even though it tortures the shit out of Mel because because she doesn't like the whole "Here, love me tender, love me do." But it's there's just certain songs that have meaning to it. Like if you listen to the Michael Jackson History album, He has his greatest hits on the first CD, and then on the second one, he has a song on there called "Money," which talks about the world today. Um, it's like some of these artists that talk about these things were visionaries. You know, that's what I liked about them. They were visionaries. Like they saw what was going to happen. And also, I do like Pink Floyd. For all y'all that were, were kind of curious, I do like Pink Floyd as well. And I think there's maybe only two or three Rolling Stone songs that I like. But for the most part, now I listen to my stuff, and I really don't. Now, like I said, if it's a band that I like now already, and they have a new song out or a new album out, then I'll listen to it. But I'm not listening when we put on the radio in the car. I'm not listening to anything new. Like I got like two old. We get put on two old radio stations, and we just listen to you know clear Credence, Clearwater Revival. We'll listen to older stuff like that, like Eric Clapton or Billy Joel and things of that nature. I'm a musical mutt, if you want to call it that, but I have appreciation for all kinds of music. And but ACDC has and will forever be my favorite band of all time. I mean, that's just flat out right there for you. But you know what? In the comments below, whenever some of you guys see this video, you'll probably see it later. Some of you might comment later or whatever. Post to me what's some of your favorite band or favorite artists that you like, and you don't have to put them in numbers because I don't do that. I know I did it for my movie one, but I wasn't going to do it for this one because there was just too many. But anyways, this Big Kev signing off. I just want to wish everybody, hope everybody had a great Christmas and a good New Year's. 2023 should be a better year. Hopefully it's a better year than last year, because last year was a pain in the ass. And some of you who know me very well know why. It was a pain in the ass. But anywho, go Titans this weekend. Hopefully they will bounce back from those 6 losses and actually beat the Jackoffs and go to Jacksonville and take, steal their lunch money. That's what I'm hoping that happens. But anyways, though, I'm out. Peace and love, everyone.